Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins History, Treasure Hunters and Coin Lovers. Today, we're traveling back more than 8 decades to explore one of the most collectible and historically rich coins in American history, the 1940 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This humble 1-cent piece might look small and ordinary to most people, but for collectors who know what to look for, it can be a powerful symbol of history, craftsmanship, and hidden value. And you definitely want to stay with me all the way to the end, because the value of some of these pennies in pristine condition will absolutely surprise you. The 1940 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck during a unique era in the United States. The country was emerging from the Great Depression and watching the tension build overseas as World War II approached. Even though America hadn't yet entered the war, changes were already happening in industry, production, and the economy. Pennies were made of 95% copper with a small mix of tin and zinc, giving them that classic, rich reddish-brown tone that collectors love. Millions were produced in different mints, Philadelphia with no visible mint mark, Denver with the D mark, and San Francisco with the S mark, but not all pennies survived the years in the same way. Many of these coins traveled through countless hands, worn down by circulation, tossed into jars, lost in drawers, or spent without a second thought. And that's what makes finding one in sharply preserved condition such an exciting discovery. The iconic obverse design features Abraham Lincoln's profile, created by Victor David Brenner, with the year 1940 just below. On the reverse you'll find the classic wheat ears on each side surrounded by the words 1 cent and United States of America, along with the motto E pluribus unum at the top. That wheat reverse design gives these coins their nickname, wheat pennies, and for collectors, condition and detail in these design elements matter more than anything. Now here's where it gets interesting. Coins from this year may look common, but the real value comes from condition, mint mark, and eye appeal. A 1940 penny that has sharp edges, a glossy finish, and little to no wear becomes especially desirable. Certain pennies from the Denver or San Francisco mints can be more valuable because of lower surviving populations in high grade. Even pennies without a mint mark from Philadelphia can bring serious money when they are in uncirculated or mint state condition. Coins stored away untouched, kept out of circulation, or preserved in original luster can fetch jaw-dropping prices compared to the same coin worn down from years of use. Collectors also look for errors from 1940 that add unique character and rarity. Double dies on the date or lettering, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, weak strikes, or planchet imperfections can dramatically increase collector interest. Error coins are often accidental masterpieces, unintended results that turn into treasures. One of these rare variations paired with excellent condition can turn a simple penny into a major prize. Over the years, many Lincoln Wheat pennies from 1940 have shown up in collections, coin rolls, pocket change, and even estate boxes. People sometimes overlook them simply because they're old pennies and assume they're not worth much. But a coin like this demands a closer look, especially when it carries a crisp mint mark and strong details. The deeper the red color preserved on the surface and the more original luster that shines through, the more collectors are willing to pay. Think about how many of these pennies were tossed into drawers, coffee cans, and old containers. Someone out there might have a valuable 1940 wheat penny hidden in a forgotten jar or tucked away in a childhood collection. And it could be sitting in plain sight without anyone realizing its worth. That's why checking the date, mint mark, and overall condition is so important. If you come across one with minimal wear, full wheat lines on the reverse, and a bold strike on Lincoln's face, you just might be holding something very special. So how valuable can this coin really get? For those rare examples in exceptional condition, especially when paired with a desirable mint mark or a fascinating mint error, the price can reach an incredible $45,000 in words at the very top end of the market. Today we're shining a spotlight on a classic American coin that almost everyone has seen, but very few truly understand, the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny. At first glance it seems like just another old copper cent from your grandparents' change jar, but when you start looking at the details, especially the mint mark, the condition, and any rare variations, you'll discover why collectors are paying serious attention to this particular year. The 1957 wheat penny comes from the final years of the beloved wheat reverse design. which ended in 1958 before the Lincoln Memorial reverse took over in 1959. That gives this coin extra appeal, because it's part of the closing chapter of an iconic design that spanned half a century. These pennies were made from 95% copper and a small percentage of tin and zinc, giving them the classic rich copper tone collectors admire. Millions were minted, but most were circulated heavily, spent in everyday life, and worn down over time. The most common mint marks for this year are no mint mark for Philadelphia and a small D mint mark for Denver, and although they aren't rare in general, the challenge lies in finding one that survived in top-grade condition. If you take a close look at the obverse, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's profile designed by Victor David Brenner, along with the date 1957 and the mint mark just beneath it if there is one. Turn the coin over and you're greeted by the famous wheat ears on each side of the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the motto E pluribus unum above. Even though these pennies were everyday currency, the elegance of the design and the historical timing make them highly collectible. But collectors don't just want any 1957 penny, they crave examples with sharp details, strong strikes, glossy luster, and no signs of wear. Those features can lift an ordinary cent into the world of serious value. What sets certain 1957 pennies apart is condition and rarity in high grade. Coins that were pulled from circulation early or stored in rolls or mint sets can sometimes remain in pristine condition. They might show full wheat lines on the reverse, bright color, and minimal marks. That's where collectors start getting excited. Add a desirable mint mark like the D from Denver and suddenly a simple penny becomes a highlight in a collection. Some lucky finds also include rare errors such as double dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, or planchet flaws. Even tiny mistakes made at the mint can make a coin dramatically more valuable, because they turn it into a unique survivor. Unlike the millions struck correctly, imagine a 1957 wheat penny that still holds its original copper glow, with Lincoln's features standing out clearly, full lettering, no scratches, and wheat stalks so sharp they look freshly engraved. That's the kind of coin expert collectors pay attention to, and the kind that can make headlines when it hits the auction block. While most circulated examples might only be worth a few cents or a couple of dollars, the rarest high-grade examples in mint state with exceptional detail are in a league of their own. Many people have these pennies lying unnoticed in childhood coin folders, inherited collections, or jars filled decades ago. They might sit there for years because the owner assumes they're too common to matter. But a closer look with the right knowledge can reveal something extraordinary. Checking the color, strike, mint mark location, and surfaces can make all the difference. Coin grading companies often reward the best examples with premium designations, and that's when values jump to surprising heights. And for the most astonishing part of all, certain 1957 Lincoln Wheat Pennies in exceptional condition with the right qualities have been known to fetch an unbelievable $65,000 in words at the top end of the market. Today we're diving into a small but powerful piece of American numismatic history, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny. At first glance, most people think of wheat pennies as common pocket change from the past, but collectors know better. A coin like the 1953 penny can turn into something incredibly valuable when condition, mint mark, and rarity come together. So get ready to explore the story behind this coin, what makes it collectible, the details that set it apart, and how a single well-preserved piece can be worth far more than anyone expects. The 1953 wheat penny was minted during a booming period in the United States. The Second World War had ended less than a decade earlier, the economy was thriving, and coins were produced in huge quantities to keep up with everyday use. These pennies were struck at three major mints: Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with a D, and San Francisco with an S mint mark. While millions of them were made, time has not been kind to most of the coins left today. They passed through the hands of shoppers, soldiers, students, farmers, clerks, and families buying groceries, paying bus fares, and saving change in jars. The vast majority of these pennies are worn, scratched, discolored, or damaged, which is why high-grade examples are so desirable to serious collectors. The design remains one of the most beloved in American coinage history. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's profile looks confidently forward, the date 1953 sits just below, and if your coin has one, the mint mark will appear under the year. On the back, you'll see the familiar wheat ears curving along both sides of the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum curved along the top. That wheat reverse gives these pennies their famous nickname and reminds collectors of an era when wheat was a symbol of prosperity, agriculture, and national strength. Even though this design ended shortly after, its final decade still draws huge interest among coin enthusiasts. Collectors are fascinated not just by the design, but by condition and rarity of top-grade examples. Coins that never saw circulation or were removed from commerce early can survive today with original luster, crisp details, and strong color. These are known as mint state coins, and they can command shocking prices when they have minimal marks and rich copper tones. Even a coin that looks ordinary at first might have enormous value if it has been carefully preserved. Then there's the added intrigue of mint errors and varieties. Some 1953 pennies display double dies on the lettering or date, repunched mint marks with a second strike visible, or off-center impressions that make the coin visually unique. A coin with one of these features and outstanding condition instantly stands out to collectors and auction houses. The Denver and San Francisco issues are often studied closely for these variations, and when you pair an error with a high grade, the value can skyrocket. The irony is many people have seen this coin countless times without realizing its potential. It may sit in a dusty collection from a relative, a box of old change in the attic, or a jar that hasn't been touched in decades. Others have them mixed in with modern pennies from pocket change, unaware that a 1953 wheat cent with the right details can be a real treasure. The copper content alone gives these coins a timeless look, and the aging process can sometimes produce beautiful tones that collectors love, especially when combined with sharp strikes and minimal wear. Finding a 1953 penny that has full wheat lines on the reverse, strong lettering, clean rims, and a rich, bright, or even brilliantly toned surface instantly sets it apart from the rest. The presence of a mint mark from Denver or San Francisco can further elevate its desirability. Collectors also check for original shine, sharpness in Lincoln's hair and beard, clarity in the motto and date, and the overall eye appeal. Every detail counts when it comes to determining value. Now for the part that makes coin lovers' hearts race. The very best examples of the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny, those in exceptional condition with strong eye appeal, original luster, and possibly an interesting mint error, have sold for an astonishing $68,000 in words at the top of the market. Today we're taking a deep look at a coin that might be hiding in plain sight, tucked away in an old jar, a forgotten album, or mixed into pocket change from decades past, the 1947 Lincoln Wheat Penny. At first glance it may look like just another copper cent from the mid-1900s, but once you uncover the story behind it and understand what determines its true value, you'll realize this coin has the potential to be worth far more than its face value. If you stick with me, you'll learn about its history, where it was minted, how to identify the most desirable examples, what errors make it stand out to collectors, and just how valuable the right coin can become. The 1947 wheat penny was struck just after the end of World War II, during a time when the United States was adjusting to post-war life. Industries were booming again, families were growing, and coins were circulating across the country faster than ever. These pennies were produced at three major mints: Philadelphia, which did not use a mint mark, Denver with the D mark, and San Francisco with the S mark. Although millions of these coins were minted, that doesn't mean the valuable ones are easy to find. The challenge lies in how few survived in exceptional condition. Most of these pennies passed from hand to hand for decades, piling up scratches, discoloration, and where that erases fine details, collectors prize the sharpest, cleanest examples with original luster, especially mint state coins that were never spent or damaged. The coin features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, designed by Victor David Brenner. Beneath Lincoln's shoulder sits the mint mark for Denver or San Francisco, if there is one, and the year 1947 shows just to the right of his image. Flip the coin over and you'll see the iconic wheat ears on each side of the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum curving across the top. This wheat reverse design is a favorite for collectors because it represents one of the longest-running and most recognizable designs in American coinage. Even though these coins are old, they're not automatically valuable. condition is key. A heavily circulated penny might only be worth a few cents to $1, but a well-preserved specimen with full details, sharp edges, and bright surfaces can become a showpiece in a coin collection. And it gets even more exciting when mint errors come into play. Some 1947 pennies have doubled dies in the lettering, misaligned strikes, planchet flaws, or repunched mint marks that make them extremely sought after. These errors weren't intentional, but the few that slipped through the minting process became rare survivors that collectors are eager to own. Another factor that affects value is eye appeal. A 1947 penny with a strong strike, full wheat lines, even toning, and minimal contact marks can command serious money, especially if it carries a desirable mint mark like D or S. Many of these coins have been found in original bank rolls, old coin albums, and inherited collections that people never bothered to examine closely. Often, the only thing standing between someone and a small fortune is a closer look with the right knowledge. People also love the history tied to this coin. It reminds us of an America rebuilding itself, of soldiers returning home, of families pocketing pennies on their way to the grocery store or the candy counter. Owning a pristine 1947 penny links collectors to that moment in time. That emotional connection, combined with rarity in high grades, drives the value far beyond what most would expect from such a small copper coin. Now here comes the part everyone waits for. Among the finest known examples of the 1947 Lincoln Wheat Penny, especially those with outstanding condition, strong mint marks, and eye-catching quality, the value can reach an incredible $72,000 in words at the top of the market. Today we're stepping back more than a century into the early days of the Lincoln Wheat Penny series to talk about an incredible piece of American history, the 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This is one of those coins that can easily go unnoticed by people who don't know what they're holding, but for collectors who understand mint marks, condition, rarity, and errors, it can be an absolute powerhouse in terms of value. If you're ready to learn why this small copper coin still turns heads in the coin market today, then you're in the right place. The 1917 wheat penny comes from a time when the world was facing great change. The United States was moving closer to entering World War I, automobiles were slowly replacing horse-drawn carriages, and everyday wages were counted out in coins. The Lincoln cent had only been introduced 9 years earlier in 1909, and the wheat reverse was still new and widely admired. These pennies were made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving them that classic rich color collectors recognize instantly. There were 3 mints striking the 1917 penny: Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with a D, and San Francisco with an S. While millions were made, the survival of truly high-quality coins from that era is what makes the difference today. Most of these coins were used heavily in daily transactions, passing through countless hands over the years. As a result, many have worn surfaces, faded details, and lost luster. A century of circulation, storage, and handling takes a major toll, and that's why collectors go wild when they come across one that has somehow remained well preserved. On the obverse, you'll see the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, with the date 1917 to the right and the mint mark beneath it if the coin came from Denver or San Francisco. The reverse features the iconic wheat ears on both sides of the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum above. This design carried America through world wars, economic changes, and the transformation of industry, and the 1917 issue represents the early, historic part of that journey. What makes a 1917 penny stand out isn't just its age, it's the condition. When collectors talk about value, they focus on strong details in Lincoln's hair and beard, bold lettering, full wheat lines on the reverse, clean rims, and smooth surfaces with minimal marks. Coins that were saved early or pulled from circulation before being worn down are incredibly difficult to find now, and that scarcity drives value sky high. Even color matters. A penny with original red or red-brown tones can be worth dramatically more than one that has darkened or spotted over time. Then there's the fascinating world of mint errors and varieties. Some 1917 Lincoln cents show doubled dies, where parts of the design appear doubled, most famously seen in the famous 1917 doubled die obverse. Repunched mint marks from Denver or San Francisco, off-center strikes, and die cracks can all turn an already desirable coin into something extraordinary. Error collectors pay close attention to this year because the minting technology and quality control of the time were not what they are today. That means a few rare mistakes slipped through and became treasures generations later. Finding a 1917 penny with a clear mint mark, strong strike, and full detail is like winning a little piece of history. Many of these coins were stashed in jars, tins, drawers, and old money boxes by parents and grandparents who never imagined future collectors would pay huge amounts for them. Some ended up in coin albums decades later, while others vanished into estates and flea market boxes, waiting for someone to spot what others overlooked. Even though worn-out examples might only be worth a small amount, the top-tier coins, those that look almost as if they just left the mint, are the ones that make headlines. A pristine example can shine with original luster, smooth fields, and no major contact marks. Add in a desirable mint mark from Denver or San Francisco and suddenly you're looking at something incredibly special in the numismatic world. These are the coins that collectors compete fiercely to own, and now for the part you've been waiting for. The most exceptional examples of the 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny, especially in high grade with strong details, eye appeal, and historical charm, have sold for an incredible $78,000 in words at the very top of the market. So the next time you stumble across an old wheat penny from the early 1900s, don't toss it aside. Check the date, look for the mint mark, inspect the details, and remember that history sometimes hides in the smallest places. That 1 cent you're holding might be far more valuable than anyone ever imagined.